Nssf did say that it has no money available for lump sums of sum payments if Parliament passes the Nssf amendment bill. Now, this conversation has actually been ongoing ever since Friday, and which has actually caused public backlash with Nssf, where most of the Ugandans, most of you are not happy with the information that was coming through. And here is where our topical discussion is centered. The main topic we have is what is delaying the midterm access of the Nssf funds. And with me in studio, I do have the Honorable Minister, Abdul Biakatonda, Member of Parliament, and the Workers MP. Yes. You're most welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sonko. I want to thank Smart 24 TV for serving the nation, specifically in avenues of investment, and as a very sensitive program which are highly educative. I think you have done a lot of work. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome, sir. And pleasure is ours to continue serving the nation.
Yes.
And so, Honorable Minister, let's kick-start off from Honorable Member of Parliament.
Yes.
I don't
know
workers. Okay. Okay. Okay, sir. Let's start from which statement should we follow? Because according to the Finance Ministry yesterday, they came out and said the money is still there, but reports from Nssf is there is no money.
Yes. You see, Mr. Sonko and the viewers, you see, there's a saying that when you have a journey to make and you stop throwing stones at every barking dog, you'll never reach your destination. For us, our preoccupation as a Parliament, as the Gender Committee, we are looking at the legal infrastructure. Those are secondary, because you can see the contradiction. Nssf is provided by Minister of Finance. If Minister of Finance saying the money is available, and Nssf maybe at another point says there is no money, then you see that those contradictions. I think that's trying to derail the good intention of the government. What I would like to tell the viewers is that one, this is a government bill.
Okay.
But the key issue why it has actually delayed is that one, there was a delay in assenting because the president had a lot of concerns. Actually, based on some misconception by some fund managers who were saying when we give midterm access, because the background is that midterm access comes in because we're seeing the plight of workers in the advent of this pandemic COVID-19. The extent that I think totally devastated and they could not actually earn a living, they could not actually have their livelihood. So that's why we said, okay, this is quite a number that can actually help. And you know, the principle of income is that when Sonko has money, like as a neighbor, I can also get something. Or you can buy from me and then or you can invest and I can actually work
benefit from it.
Yeah. So I think the benefits are enormous and they have a spillover effect. So I think what we are doing now is basically to ensure that the amendment to the bill is done expeditiously. And I sit on the Gender Committee. And so far so good, I'm saying there is a green light at the end of the tunnel. Okay. And once this is concluded, then of course we shall tell this people. You see, if I give you to look after my cattle, and I say I want milk, you cannot actually deny me. They are guiding principles. So these are fund managers. They should actually understand these are the key stakeholders, the savers. So at any point when they realize within the framework, within the legal framework, you should be able, they are bound to really yield.
Okay.
Of course, we are cognizant of the fact that at least there should be sustainability of the fund. We are also not saying Nssf should be closed to there, no. Because I must tell the viewers that one of the biggest funds that a person can benefit from is Nssf. Because literally, you go from your first employment without any shilling.
Yes.
But you reach there, they are saying, we are deducting your 5%, then the employer is topping up 10%.
Of that?
Yes. And of course, this derives this mandate from the global, the ILO conventions. We have about 21 conventions and certain recommendations, which are very strong. For example, you find that this convention 102 of ILO is the one actually which gives room to social security.
Okay.
And the government has actually ratified most of these conventions and recommendations. They have been part to it. So it means we are looking at the international minimum standards. So sort of that, I think we shall not be doing anything.
Okay.
So it's something which is within the principles of our constitution, Roman 7, 11, within Article 33B, 34B, all these. So I think we are, the mother of the Constitution is actually looking at social security. Then this bill, which is going to be actually turned into an act with these amendments, should also be bound to look at how the savers benefit. What are the standards? Of course, we derive from the point of traceability, from the what's the practice. So I think this issue doesn't arise with no money. I think
no money. There is money.
Is for us to make the law,
and it.
Once the law is in place, then we shall ask for it to be operationalized.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is a process by process situation.
Process by process.
Okay. Yeah. Honorable, if you're to also help us here understand here, between the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, and then the Ministry of Finance, who is where is the mandate of regulating Nssf going to?
Thank you so much. I think previously, and the practice that the fund, the social security is managed by Ministry of Gender. But in the country, I think it was there sometime, then later, it has been a dual management between the Ministry of Finance and Gender, where Finance has been managing the fund, then Gender manages the social security aspects. But I think in this one, we have had a number of engagement with key stakeholders, about over 10. We have engaged the employees, we have engaged the employers, we have engaged the people with disability, we have engaged the platform for action for labor, and a number of them. So I think we shall derive a decision based on that.
Okay.
There's a lot of guidance on this, and I think we need to see what is it? Is it fair?
Yes.
Is it objective? What are the stakeholders saying? I think all these are the things that we shall factor in and make a decision, because we are in a high gear actually trying to conclude this matter.
Okay.
Because realize that one, we want to appeal to urge the workers to be patient and prepare themselves, the savers especially. Because what is important is that this money is not a lottery. It's
so
a hard-earned income.
So that you get from your sweat.
Yes, your sweat. So when you get it, I think it's an opportunity for you. Because people who want to do business are going to the banks and it attracts interest. But if when you have an opportunity to get it, I think they must prepare. They must actually make sure there is a high level of resilience, high level of preparation, so that you invest. Tomorrow, who knows? You see, in a human behavior perspective, there's what we call the default mindset and the current. When you're preoccupied with the default, it means you get the money and waste it. But when you're in the current,
you understand what is happening.
You analyze before you even get to that step. So, and I think that we shall be proud, because in management we say success has got so many fathers.
Okay.
And failure is an orphan. So, want to be attributed to those who succeed, given this small fund, and when the access is actually guaranteed. So, you see, there are a lot of opportunities as there are people in the country. And we are now targeting a number of enterprises. So, when you start small, you realize that as you go back to work, you are doing something. So, this is an opportunity for real the savers who are going to access money in this category.
Right. Yeah. Honorable, you've been talking about the law and that is yet to be implemented. If you're to give us a rough estimation, because you're sitting on the committee and maybe you know what is happening in the dugout there, what is taking so long for it to actually come to pass, and when is it even expected to be implemented?
I think the delay was considered by speculators. Because I think the other school of thought, which is very destructive, from the detractors, was saying when we give midterm access, it means the fund will be replenished and there will be no more. So I think as workers leaders, we made a lot of statistics analysis, and we realized that when midterm access is granted, out of the over 13 trillion of Nssf, we only need about 800-900 billion, or 1 billion, let's say. So that doesn't really mean that the money has been replenished. I mean, we have exhausted all the coffers of Nssf, of the fund.
Yes.
So when we did that situation, on the 4th of August, we had a stakeholder meeting with His Excellency the President, and this case was put clearly. He realized actually, earlier to the misconceptions, I think we had the facts and figures. So now, that means the fund will be sustainably available. And of course, the other thing is that the intentions, with all intentions and purposes, this fund under the ILO Convention 102 has a number of branches. Actually, it's about 9 branches, and we are looking at things, even things like maternity must be considered.
Okay.
Even things like medical care, things like housing, things like unemployment, things like survivor's benefit.
How about
all
even
this,
some insurance also
injury,
in terms there?
Injury. So you see, in the world of where we are looking at competition, Nssf should be actually stand at the should be at the edge of all those entities that actually perceive to compete. Because for us, it is a given. Had the and of course we must actually treat these people well, because one certified client will bring it in. So what we are envisaging in this law now is to ensure that at least we build the capacity. The legal framework must be actually well refined, so that people actually rejoice in the fund. I'm not saying they're not rejoicing, of course. Those who have reached the retirement age, 60 years, what they are
already benefiting out of it.
But now what we want is to add more value. There should be more value addition, such that at least the savers really confidently believe. Because you see, there's been a lot of negativity. Somebody will tell you, they are delaying because there is no money. And when you allude to such facts, then it is dangerous.
So true.
So what we want to do, we even now, because I think even with the board has more powers to even widen the scope. Because now, if they are looking at voluntary saving, such that Mr. Sonko, even if maybe they are saving for you the 10%.
10%.
You can say, I'm adding
more to my
money,
retirement benefits.
My thing grows. Or somebody selling tomatoes can say, let me also save with Nssf. Because one, it even has interest. I think, you remember one time it even went up to 15%.
So
even if it's at 11%.
It's still more benefit. Yes.
And of course, you cannot say Nssf is going to shift tomorrow.
It is still,
people have confidence in their money.
Just like if you look at, these are some government bodies that are still prevailing.
So what we want is that now, for example, why don't you look at, for example, having low-cost houses for the savers such that they can actually buy and pay over time. As they save, by the time of retirement, somebody will be owning a house and will have actually finished repayment. So these are the schools of sorts. Why don't you look at, for example, saying maybe someone can save, he has 55 million with us, but he doesn't have medical insurance. We can actually pass the back by looking for an insurer and give. These are the issues we want actually the Nssf now to rebrand and prove that they're actually trendy. Because this is actually the biggest fund. I think this is the richest fund in the country. So we don't see anyone actually clamoring and coming around to puncture it and ensure that at least it falls short of the...
And it's actually even far better. You did mention it doesn't come with an interest rate of like a commercial where banks need interest rates when returning your fund. And now,
all those will be, I think, issues that we are going to address. And of course, when we do that, we restore the confidence of the people within this legal framework. And you'll find that at least the number will even go up. And I think that's what we are looking at.
Okay.
Contrary to certain mischiefs and we are saying no. This time around, as a parliament, as a committee, we want to build that capacity of the institution, have the appropriate going infrastructure, and so that at least when they're operating, the gaps are quite handled. All the lacunas within the law are handled and addressed adequately.
All right.
So this bill, like you asked, the time frame. I think we are finishing. When we finish, the speaker had given us 10 days, but of course we had a number of commitments. So within a short time, I think we are given actually less than now 10 days to finish our work as a
because that happened last week.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then we shall appear on the floor of Parliament. And I appeal to honorable colleagues, because every member of Parliament has workers in this constituency.
So true.
So which I think we shall get your valuable support, so that we don't have any hurdle. When the law is done, then it will be prepared and taken for accent. And of course now, all key issues have been handled, which I think will not take a lot of time. Of course now, the mechanism of follow-up between Parliament and the assenting authority, His Excellency, should be followed by the administrative organs of Parliament. And then when that's done, of course, the other thing is the ministers to gazette some instrument to guide the operationalization of the fund as per this midterm access. So that's once that's done, then it can be shall be in business. We don't want to leave it open-ended. I think we shall have a time frame. Because
there are a lot of concerns coming out from the people. Yes. And Honorable, even speaking of the fact that you are a workers' MP, Have you, if you're to look into the concerns of the workers and the people or the public, where is their main challenge with this same situation that we are in as a country?
No, I think the main challenge has been, it's not even only in Uganda, but globally, a number of countries don't have resilience mechanisms. But I think COVID-19 provides lessons to the effect that we need really to prepare adequately. So I think this now leaves the workers in that category as the only fallback position to rescue them from the undesirable situation. But I think it's the point I'm making that we need really to step up our resilience. So there were no resilience mechanisms. So I think that's why it came around, because everybody was scratching around, looking at alternatives. Where do we go? So until like workers leaders looked at this as one of the possible avenues. Of course, this doesn't cover the non-savers, but of course we are saying that category, once they have access to the midterm access, then we can look at as a category of workers and then look for ways. Of course, we are saying now we should not it's not to be business as usual. We are even encouraging workers to form cooperatives. We are encouraging workers to position themselves so that they can actually benefit from government programs. When we do this and we have a scope, we diversify within our means. We are looking at ABC. Let's have alternatives. Then we can actually be in business. Otherwise, the situation has been very worse. You can imagine the private teachers. You can imagine the private.
It's so true.
In private institutions,
all sectors are really hurt.
You cannot even run the institution and say, "Give me an advance," because they also don't have. Schools are heavily indebted. I mean, loans.
There was even a time when they wanted the government to actually take over some of them.
So the situation is so appalling. Of course, now this now gives a very, very concrete lesson from an individual worker from the family to the government level. So we need now to look at mechanisms so that we have resilience plans in place, and that can now help us to sustain ourselves in case of such occurrences. Yeah.
So that means if there is a worker out there, they should understand when the committee sets the bill to the speaker, and once it is passed into law, things are going to be okay.
No, of course, like I said, these are fund managers, but we are saying the owners of the fund must be liberated partially within that. And this presents even a very good case, and you realize that we shall learn how to even handle money, how the money grows, such that at the 20%, and you are continuing to save definitely. When you clock the age and you get your money, you'll be having even experiences now to handle business. You see, we are now conditioning. I think the policy is conditioning workers. Because you say, first attempt I got my 20%, it didn't work out well. So this time I must tread carefully. So I think people will know. It provides also an opportunity for people to learn. Then the other thing, it will develop confidence of the savers, and of course now it will attract even more. Because you realize, I think, the good thing is that Nssf has a system. By click of the button within your phone, you know how much you have. So already people have computed.
Because even the notifications come through once you're done saving.
Exactly. So my only advice is that let the workers prepare. It's not much as they are saying it is money to give relief, but you see, even the Bible, you have looked at these people where they said they have given 3 people money to keep. Then another one said, I buried the mine and they covered with soil. Then another one was saying, I've actually used the mine to do some business and I'll profit. Then they said this one would, but the profit was actually recommended. I think this is the spirit within which you want people to act.
Okay.
It is their money, and I want to give assurance that the law is on course for us. We have not even gone for recess as Gender Committee. We have actually put in a lot of effort to ensure that we finish our part. And definitely within a short time we are going to be on the floor of Parliament. And our chairperson will be presenting it on our behalf as a committee. Then the Parliament will actually have their input. Once that is done, then the bill will be submitted for assent.
Okay.
So I want to urge workers to really exercise more patience as they have been patient. After all, it will come to pass.
All right. Now, the 10th Parliament passed the Nssf bill allowing for midterm access by savers above 45 years or at least those who have served for 10 years. However, the president did assent to the bill until the expiry of the 10th Parliament. He returned the bill to the Speaker of the 11th Parliament, saying Parliament needs to amend the commencement date of the Act so that it comes into force on the date of its publication in the Gazette. The Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Olanya, gave the committee 10 days, that the Honourable one was actually telling us, to scrutinise the National Social Security Fund Nssf Amendment Bill for 2021. So if at all you are just joining in with the conversation, we are looking at what is delaying the midterm access of these funds. For now, let's proceed into a break, but when we do return, we're going to be talking about the Nssf reports about the invested money, and also we'll be talking about transferring of the Nssf management to the Ministry of Finance. I'm still with Honorable Abdul Biakatonda. Okay, we'll be right back. Smart 24, driving business. 24 Driving Business. We are back to our topical discussion. If you're just joining in, I'm Joram Postonko, and we are here talking about the issue of Nssf. This is an issue where most probably some of you have your interest here because of some of the false information maybe that you've been getting through the different social media platforms. And our topic today is, what is delaying the midterm access of the Nssf funds? With the Workers MP, Honorable Abdul Biakatunda, to digest this situation. And Honorable, as we're heading into a break, I did mention of the fact that we're going to come and discuss this issue. Nssf did report last week that they invested the money, and the question would be, where was the money invested, and of what benefit will it be? And are the stories, are these reports even right?
Well, I think Nssf are managing the fund. Mm-hmm. And of course, they have the capacity to invest in Treasury Bills, in estates.
Okay.
Of course, all those, when first of all, this presentation where they said this, they were appearing as stakeholders.
Okay.
Before the committee.
Nssf were just appearing as a stakeholder.
Okay. They said doesn't constitute the law. It is now upon the committee to digest and actually see which ideas they can take. They were appearing like any other stakeholder. They were appearing like workers' leaders. They were appearing like employers.
Okay.
So I think we are correlating all that information. Then we can see what is relevant to input in the bill as a committee. And then later present to the floor of Parliament. So whatever they said, whatever they didn't say,
it was
not a big issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
They just came in as a stakeholder, giving an opinion.
So for us, ours is not to look at the administration, but for us, we are looking at the law applicable.
Okay.
So that we have the law. And of course, this can also help us to look at certain things. And what I want to tell the viewers is that, one, nothing which has been, not everything that has been said becomes the law. Until it has achieved through the committee and the floor of Parliament. And after that, it is forwarded first sent. So what is important is for the viewer to understand that at least we are not actually privy to any information, but of course we correlate and look at the parameters. And of course, as a committee, we are looking at traceability. What is the genesis of social security? What are the applicable laws? What are the conventions? What are the constitutions say? What does the Employment Act say? All these are, we are trying to benchmark all laws and so that we come up with a law which will stand the test of time. So what X has said, what person Y has said is not really a big issue, but the big issue is what shows through the committee based on their analysis to see what is desirable. And of course, we benchmark all those legal frameworks and conventions and recommendations, then the law will be in place.
Okay. Yeah. And Honorable, if you did talk about Nssf that's investing in these Treasury Bills, estates, and of what benefit is that when they do these investments to the saver?
Well, of course, they are looking at returns on investment, which is really very okay. At the end of the day, people are looking at the retirement age must actually get the money. So it would be logical to just put there the money when the savers are actually expecting interest. I think that is really very key. And within the law, we are saying the board and the fund per se is mandated to even widen the scope. That's why you see that they're even coming up with voluntary savers. If voluntary savers save with them, the fund is also growing and also benefiting as well of interest on their returns on their investment, on their savings. So I think that is very important. But what's important is to see that at least within the framework, availability must be guaranteed. And I think when people clock retirement age, I think they're accessing their money. When people have injuries within the framework, they access their money. When people are living in the country, they're migrating and without a possibility of return, they're accessing their money. So the component of midterm access was not in the law, but it's coming in basically to mitigate the situation which is undesirable. That's very important, and we are looking at that. I think the core is that much as amendments may actually come within our way as we legislate on that.
Okay, Honorable, now the State Minister of Finance in charge of general duties, Henry Musasizi, did mention that, did suggest, he had a proposal that NSSF, there should be a transfer of management of the NSSF to the Ministry of Finance. My biggest worry here is, would it look like an overload to the Ministry of Finance?
Well, like finance, like agenda, other stakeholders have actually had an engagement with us. They have interfaced with us. That is an opinion which is on table, and there are other opinions. So we shall correlate and look at all of them. And I don't want to say I'm taking Honorable Msazi's decision or some individual X, but of course
the committee will.
Of course, when you are hearing, what you give are your facts, and
it is your own opinion.
And for us, then we can also sit and agree under the democratic principle, consensus. Of course, even in a committee, somebody can say, I don't agree with this, and we'll come up with either a minority report. It's also allowed within our rules of procedure.
Okay.
But I think that was his view, and of course the committee will look at them. We are basically correlating all the information. Like I said, stakeholders who appeared are more than 10. It's important, and this gives us a big catchment area to fish from and see what goes within the parameters and the requirement of the law, within the procedures laid down. Yeah.
Okay, and Honorable, I think as we are trying to wind up with this discussion, anything that you would love to, if your final assessments and you would like to actually give to the viewer out there?
Yeah, I think what I want to say is that the workers of Uganda are vanguards of development. You see, economies that have grown have focused on basically the workforce. Because like Mr. Sonko, you have relevant skills. You have a number of public engagements. You have clients. So when you have an idea, it means it can actually have a spillover effect. And people will buy in. So we are looking at positioning ourselves as the workforce of Uganda. Ensure that at least one, we are not at the back seat in terms of investment, in terms of government programs. We can do that because even within the ILO convention, it allows formation of cooperatives, even within the individual workplace. Like Smart 24 TV, you can have your circle, you can have your cooperative. Such that at least when you have problems, you don't learn to exorbitant high interest rates, but within your cooperative, you can borrow.
And you can borrow from there, yes.
Yes. So I think this is what I want to urge workers to ensure that at least within those confines, within those alternatives, we take an upper hand.
Okay.
To the bill, I want to say it will come to pass because our commitment is also to ensure that we handle it exhaustively and ensure that all key aspects are addressed relevantly, and we shall be appearing in the floor of Parliament very soon as a committee, represented by our chairperson, and it will come to pass. So we have been patient, and we urge for some more patience.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then, Honorable, there is also some public worry. I don't know, some public concern that I wanted us to address somehow. The issue of some people are still in a form of thinking that maybe does NSSF really have that money to pay to the public?
Yeah, NSSF has the money because monthly they get a lot of money in the plans on investment.
Okay.
So they don't have any worry. Let's not speculate, because when you over speculate, it becomes satanic. What is important is to believe
that there is to have hope.
System. Yes, have hope. You may end up on the default side of the brain. You believe in the current.
Okay.
Once you think in the current and actually believe, then
you desist from the default mindset.
Like us as a committee, we don't even want to know.
Okay.
For us, we are saying once, is it viable? Is it manageable? What are the figures and facts which we've been provided with? And even Nssf, like I'm saying, has appeared. They've shown us what actually they have within their presentation. And Minister of Finance has actually appeared. Minister of Gender has appeared. Employers have appeared within their forum. Federation of Vegan Employers. The workers have appeared, the employees, through their labor centers and unions. So we are in business.
Okay.
Yes.
And then lastly, which criteria do you think will be used for people to actually access this money? See, there's always been that challenge now.
Of course, the criteria there has been parameters.
Okay.
But of course, what we are adding within this amendment is basically to bring under 24A is to say somebody who is 45 years and has served for at least 10 years can access 20%. I think this is the only parameter we are adding in. And this is very good because it doesn't carry logic to give me money when I'm no more, when I cannot actually even ride the bicycle. But I think this is the energetic workforce. So I might believe this is going to have a spillover effect in terms of investment, and other people can benefit from this. Because when you invest, you are building an estate. People who have bricks will get money. People who are working at the site will access money. Then even within your area of investment, there will be growth. I think this is very good. It's an amendment which will bring a lot of sanity and will bring some results to see over these savings. And I'm optimistic to actually raise a lot of more investment. Savers. Number of savers will grow.
You see, and also I think because you're on the committee now, if you look at the plan of the bill, it is what is actually going to turn into law. It is to help the people actually access this midterm benefits.
Yes.
But how about if we look at the brokers? You see in every segment in Uganda mainly, something about brokers here and there. Yes. How are you going to tackle that situation there?
Addressed, because even we are saying, I think you are even advocating for in-house investment, such that instead of, say, Ubra, taking certain sum of money as a result of maybe fund managers, administrators, so Nssf is going to invest, because I think we are encouraging them now to build their capacity. I think that if the committee recommends that, then it will be good. Because one, we are envisaging that being an autonomous body, it can be audited by the Auditor General's office. The responsible minister, I don't know which one is going to be.
Okay.
Is responsible to manage and supervise. And of course, even within the board, you realize, one, we have 4 workers leaders on the board. We have the permanent secretary, Minister of Finance. We have the permanent secretary, Minister of Gender on the board. Then, of course, the minister appoints the chairman, the chairperson. So all these, I think, and of course, the law says they must have, when you're appointing, you must look at issues of gender, the skills
of that person,
the people in the committee, such that if you have accounting, aspects of engineering, aspects of labor laws, all those are incorporated. So the committee now turns out to be a very strong committee that we want to believe they can be empowered to do work. Okay. And of course, what we want to encourage is that, one, under ILO Convention 102, it is talking of the branches, but a member country can choose at least 3 branches. But it doesn't matter, you can even widen the scope. Look at aspects like maternity, how do you handle? Look at aspects like housing, look at aspects like medical care, look at aspects like education. Because Sonko is a saver. He has his child failing to join to do his medical course. Or should we just look at him? There are scenarios where a saver savers actually maybe as a loan and as his property being taken by the bank. So this midterm access should now be able to address this. You are looking at 400 million on your account, but a loan of 100 million is taking your property. So this midterm access should actually be able to address this. And I think now this will develop any confidence. But If you don't do that, then they will say, so we are saving even as we saw even his money in NSSF, but he failed to pay 50 million loan.
Okay.
And his security was taken.
All right.
So I think all this will be addressed. So I'm encouraging Ugandans to even voluntarily save. This is a destination where you can actually have your money, because it is the only fund for the workers in Uganda. The rest maybe can be insurance, can be banks, but of course this is very key, because you right from the day you are appointed, because I've been also practicing human resource for a number of years. We say you are appointed in such and such a position, you are being paid this, but subject to statutory deductions. So NSSF saving is one of the statutory deductions that is actually mandated. The other is pay as you earn. So when we do this, I think it is very good, and we are looking at rebranding the fund and ensure that at least it stands at the edge of all its competitors in the country.
Okay.
Issues of, like you raised, of having people who are managing it on, no, we want actually to
ban that away.
Is going to handle that sufficiently, and in our submission, the bill, we shall actually be looking at that seriously, so that at least they develop capacity. Develop capacity.
And of course, if you're still having issues in regarding to the Nssf, just sit, relax, wait, be hopeful, because when the law is passed on, it will be of your benefit to all the servers out there. We were just discussing on what is delaying the midterm access of the Nssf funds. The workers MP, Honorable Abdul Biakatonda, and he was giving us his view, because he sits on the committee that is actually going to table this law in Parliament, and maybe, just maybe, it is going to be a benefit for all of you. So just remain hopeful. As we actually winding up with the discussion, let's have the story of the Ministry of Finance officials that have actually claimed that the money for early access to the National Social Security Fund is available, and this is contrary to claims made by the Nssf Managing Director Richard Biarugaba that he made last week. After the story, coming up will be entertainment business with Andrew Barije. This is Smart Main's Business.